Hi, this is Elliot Eisenberg of Graphs and Laughs, catching you up to date on what's going on with the multiple listing service data for Hillsborough County. And the data continues to be good. Your market continues to be hot. It really does. If you look at sale prices, single-fam sale prices hit a new November record last month. And on the multifam side, they hit a record in October, an all-time record in October. They came down ever so slightly. So you're just slightly down from the all-time high on the multifam side. Sales activity was up in both, a little more in single than multi, but it varies from month to month. But over the past year, there's clearly been a general increase in sales activity. And this is particularly impressive, and we'll come back to the reason why. But as a harbinger of what's coming on, we'll talk about the lack of inventory. If you look at the percent of list price obtained, the eventual list price obtained, percentage of it, for both single and family, it went up by about 0.6%. It's about 97.5 for multifam, strong, and 98.25 or so for single fam, very strong. Pending sales are up by 8% for both single and multi, so that's very strong. But what's interesting about it is inventory is ridiculously tight. You are very starved for inventory. Months of inventory declined from 2.8 to 2.4 for single. That's very low, not super low. There have been all-time lows that were lower, but it's getting close. And on the multi-fam side, it went from 2.6 to 2.2, so it's even tighter. Inventory's increased for a while, for about 8 or 9 months, about a year ago, but the last 6-7 months or so, they've been shrinking again, 8 months, whatever. So there's really a shortage of inventory, and you're really inventory starved. And to see these increases in sales activity while inventory continues to shrink shows that you've got a very strong market on your hands, and even with very little to buy, sales activity is good. Turning our heads now and looking at the national economy and the global economy, the information that's come out recently is really very favorable. So GDP this past 2019, so it's almost over, it's over now, right? It's going to end up 2.1, 2.2% before it's all said and done. I think next year there's going to be a mild, benign decline to about 2, which is fine. And the reason I'm optimistic and the reason I'm feeling pretty good about it is trade for the first part. First, the United States-Mexico-Canada deal, USMCA, that replaces NAFTA, was signed into place by the Congress or the House. It'll get to the Senate, and then Canada and Mexico will ratify it. This is important not because the deal is so great, but because if the deal didn't happen and if we were pulled out of NAFTA by the administration, that would have hurt GDP. So this gives business certainty, and that's a good thing. The second thing is the phase 1 deal with China really is coming to pass. That's also good news. It'll bump up trade. It'll bump up certainty for corporate investments in plant and equipment, which has been bad, so that should help. And moreover, Boris Johnson won the election in Britain, and that tells us that this is the end of the beginning or the beginning of the end of the Brexit issue. So there's some clarity on this issue. There's still a lot to be determined, and things can certainly still go off the rails, but it's a pretty good beginning of the process. And last but certainly not least, the Fed has our back. When the Fed recently met just a few weeks ago, the Fed basically said we have a loosening bias, meaning it's going to be much easier for us to lower rates than it'll be for us to raise rates. Meaning, if the economy gets weak, we're going to ride to the rescue and lower rates. That's why the stock market's doing well, and why the bond market's doing well at the same time, which is somewhat unusual. But it also said, look, if things get better and inflation begins to take off, we're going to let it rip because we don't have enough inflation right now. We'd like to see more inflation. So the Fed's got our back. Trade deals have been negotiated. So suddenly what was a headwind has now become a tailwind. I'm pretty optimistic. I look at 2020 as a pretty good year, and I look at Hillsborough County as saying you're inventory starved, and hopefully sales continue to go up. Hopefully prices don't go up too much as a result. That's it for now. See you next month.